I think it would be more relevant for you to just say whatever point that you had. Obviously, I don't agree with any of the things that you're pro in regards to this situation, and we're just gonna have to agree to disagree. So you can speak on your things without trying to call me a white man or all this other extra shit. It's irrelevant. At the end of the day, there are things that work and there are things that don't work. Families work. Not having families don't work. If we want our civilization and people to continue to exist, men and women have to have sex and have a baby. Men and men having sex do not create a baby. So it's not a thing for me to discuss because that's not my forte. I'm speaking on the thing that I care about: men and women coming together to have babies.
I'm having a hard time right now because I feel like it doesn't matter what my response is. It's not, it just wouldn't make a difference, especially from what I just heard um, the guys just say. I feel like it would be a moot point. Like I said in the back chat, I just, all I hear is white men. Like I just hear, it feels like I'm talking to white men. And I just don't talk to white men. And so I feel like any response I give is going to be met with a lot of resistance. And I think I'm just not in the mood on this particular subject this time. So I just gotta let them have it.
Can you give it a little bit more context as far as when you say like white men? I'm not putting it together.
Everything Marcus said, every single word. Like I'm not trying to be insulting. I just am speaking on how I feel. Like what that puts me in the mind of when you talk to uh white men about racism. It feels like that when I hear stuff like that from my own men. So like, and I stopped talking to white men years ago. So I just don't know.
Why is
That's
there
the
such
that's
a
as specific as I could be. Go ahead, True. I'm sorry.
no? I I appreciate your involvement in these conversations, Bo, because you bring sometimes a different energy, a different perspective, which I think is needed. However, I think removing their sexual nature, sexual preference, it's very hard for a man like myself, and I think the other men, to hear males speak for men. All the stuff they were saying was nonsense. It just was just downright nonsense. This separation of why the women in this community want to remove the position that we have by birthright just blows my mind. The mere fact that the decay of the community exists is because they continue to try to move the men out of their birth position. I don't get that. And so, like you said, you bother. I'll say personally, I am too, because the minute I heard the guy say the next best thing next to God was the woman in creation, that's blasphemous. I just don't know how to sit there and arrive at that being true. Men are the beginning and the end of everything on this planet. Everything. Don't know why that's so hard for our women to understand. The beginning and the end. This does not mean y'all not important. We're we both have function, but pregnancy, like we were talking about moments ago, can't happen without our contribution. The mere sex of the pregnancy and the child cannot happen without our contribution. The sustaining of that life can also not happen without our contribution. Why is this a point of arguing? It blows my mind, and I think that that particular show gave the mic to males who may look like us but do not operate and have our ideology. These men are compromised, like I said on Tuesday. They do not know who they are. They have identity issues and crises, and they are speaking for a mass of men that do not have this freaking problem. That's not how men operate. So you say white man, I think a man knows what he brings, what he sustains, what he's accountable for, what he's supposed to freaking be doing. Those men on that panel are compromised. And I'll land.
Okay, I kind of want to respond. So I think it would be more relevant for you to just say whatever point that you have. Obviously, I don't agree with any of the things that you're pro in regards to this situation, and we're just gonna have to agree to disagree. So you can speak on your things without trying to call me a white man or all this other extra shit. It's irrelevant. At the end of the day, there are things that work and there are things that don't work. Families work. Not having families don't work. If we want our civilization and people to continue to exist, men and women have to have sex and have a baby. Men and men having sex do not create a baby. So it's not a thing for me to discuss because that's not my forte. I'm speaking on the thing that I care about: men and women coming together to have babies and families and how that's done. If you don't plan on doing that and you throw your input in, and especially if it's opposite of what the rest of the men who want to do that are saying, then you're in the way. You're not giving a valid input and intake. You're literally standing in the middle of us saying, well, you know, the women got a real good point. Y'all should be worshiping them with your finger and you niggas ain't right now. Come on, bro, sit your ass down. Go talk about the shit you talk about with your family structure. I'm not over there trying to tell you how to date Ben. You go date Ben and I'll date Susie. And when I talk to you have an issue with that, just talk about how it's beneficial for Ben and Ben to date, and then you don't got to call me a white man. It's simple. It ain't that hard.
I will say honestly, when I watched this video earlier, I did get a little confused on what the guy was saying. I appreciated him, you know, for appreciating women and us birthing children and everything. But I agree with True when I felt that it was a bit blasphemous to say we were the closest thing to God, because there is nothing like God, right? So I agree with that. I also think overall, right, because when I first watched the video, it felt good to see a video where we weren't being demonized, where men were talking about loving and everything like that. But then I actually talked to my guy about it, right? And it's so funny because I was going to send him the video, and he was like, I saw that video, and it was trash, and they were pandering. And he agreed with everything you guys were saying, and it really took his perspective. And honestly, as I don't know if I come off like this on here, but I'm usually like the optimistic, positive, like I see the glasses half full type of person. And he is the opposite of me, right? He's more pessimistic. Is no, that's BS. That's not how people think. Like, that's not what we think. And it got me to understand, like, are they pandering? I did feel, even though it's certain things we can't talk about on this panel, that it wasn't a great representation of Black heterosexual men and their feelings and their ideals and how they show up for women and what women mean to them necessarily. I felt that there were other inputs that didn't really fit the narrative. But I do want to say it just seemed nice to see a video where Black women weren't being demonized, where they just said nice stuff about Black women.
All right.
Can I just add this time? I want to say that I didn't have no issue with that part specifically. I actually said that was good. My issue was placing men in submission and having them worship people. That was
right.
The problem.
No,
right?
And
I like those videos. I want to see Black women appreciated too.
Yeah,
so I want to make sure that's not a misframe.
And white. I agree. I thought that it was what he said specifically about like comparing women to God was like, you know, that was a little much, but it was like, it's great that we're having this conversation of appreciation for women, and, you know, they do carry the baby, and that is a big thing, but we don't do it alone. I do agree with that. There are both that are necessary. And I do think that men are made to be the leaders, right? And we are here as helpers. I in total agreement with all of that. But it was, you know, still nice to just see a group of Black men say positive things, especially in today's age, because all we constantly are bombarded with is negativity from both sides, men and women. So,
you know, that's all you can find on the internet is either one or the other. Is either like men saying blasphemous things about women, or men saying everything that they know that you want to hear. Like, so you can go on whichever side of the internet, you're gonna find whatever you want to hear.
Do we think?
Go ahead, Trey.
Yeah, I mean, I do understand that Black women should be protected. Black women should be loved, appreciated, everything else. That to me, it should be a given. I know that the way that the internet appears, sometimes it doesn't seem like that, but yeah. And I would say for the most part, everybody here representing would agree with that sentiment. But there is a threshold that you can go beyond where it just gets ridiculous. And I think that's what we saw. And maybe it could have just been the energy in the room, right? Because sometimes when you're having these conversations, depending on what the vibe is going to dictate what the others people's response is, right? Like let's just say somebody was pissed off and they start yelling. Not everybody yelling. If somebody is this, they see this as the vibe. It could have been directed or anything. It just didn't seem realistic. I was like perplexed at how they came to those conclusions that they did, because it just didn't seem sound to me. I'm like, nah, it didn't seem genuine. I understand what it is that they're trying to do, but sometimes you have to recognize that people will be able to detect authenticity or the lack thereof. So
Nice.
I mean, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, finish.
No, you good. I think Bo was about to say something.
Bo, will you respond?
No, but I will say this. I was